Welcome back to part two of painting Cassidy. Okay, so here, um, so I'm working out. Earlier, I didn't feel that the cheek was wide enough there. I think I needed to bring some of um, the lighter tone over to the left a bit, and I'm adding red, cadmium red, to her cheek. Um, Also here, I'm kind of averaging out. I want to get that cheek nice and smooth. You see, I take my finger and I run across like the edges just to blur the hairline. It just makes for a more natural look. Here, I'm just adding a little bit more reflective light, just to kind of open up the shadow just a little bit. I still want to keep that core shadow turning her form. Um, and here I'm just adding a little bit more halftone coming in to the rounded part of her face. Um, and as you can see, uh, it's hard to see the values as I'm moving over, like on the palette. I'm a little out of sync, but it's pretty close. But I'm staying within my value range. When I'm in the shadow, I don't use anything above. You see further to the left on the palette. Here I'm just adding a bit more of the red. Just the red kind of opens up the shadow, gives it a little luminosity. Um, Now what I'll be doing is, some more reflective light in the side of the face. The reason for that is that reflective light is because she's wearing a light shirt, so it's kind of bouncing light back underneath her chin and jawline there. Um, Now, of course, this painting is still quite in the beginner stage, the beginning stage. But for the most part, we have most of the gradients. As far as the color shifting is concerned, this is where I'm going to be adding a little bit more cool light, a little bit more warm light here and there. Um, I'll let you know when I do add the cool. Uh, I think at some point I do add a little bit of green, um, viridian green into the skin tone. Now here I'm starting to fiddle around with the eyes, and I find that I needed a little bit more width. Those eyes are going to be uh, worked on again. As I said in the other video, that we can't really get, fixated on the fact that we have this amazing underpainting, because usually sometimes there's something a little off. And maybe when I painted in the eye, um, it was a little further over to the right on her left eye. So I will be adjusting those. But the adjustments are very slight. I mean, in fact, I had to use this really small brush to just get back some of the shape in the eye to round out the eyeball. Now, there's going to also be a lot of shadowing, edges. Well, you'll see as I'm working. And I'm also still concerned about symmetry, even at this point. Sometimes when we mass paint in, um, we want to get the paint on fast and, just to kind of cover the canvas. But in doing so, we have to always be careful and mindful of the forms underneath. I'm trying to hold as closely to my drawing underneath than anything. But there will be adjustments. Okay, now that her underlids actually have like they don't just stop, right? They don't. There's like, this is what I'm doing here. I'm adding a little bit more of a, like a softer tone. She does have a little shadow from her eyelash, which will be the last things I paint in, by the way. Um, and probably working a little bit more on her eyes, getting some of the color. I may even wait for the painting to dry and then go back. Sometimes When Into Wet is great for keeping the gradations nice and smooth. But then there are times when you want to work on you want to work wet onto dry. Um, Sometimes you just simply get better coverage, more definition. Um, Sometimes it works best. Um, but it depends. It depends on what, like the lips would be something I would go back and model and maybe get softer edges in there. Um, I'm really working at a slight disadvantage here. My head is just behind the camera, so it's hard for me to look at her straight on as if I would if I were painting her from life or from a photo on my easel. So I'm having a little difficult time. No excuses, but it's a little tricky to poke my head. And every once in a while, you'll see the picture shaking. Well, the picture shaking is my head hitting the camera. So actually, it's my cell phone. And I'm just amazed by the clarity. I do have like this big monster of a camera that can take really super great video. Unfortunately, it only works at 20 minutes a session, so I have to keep turning my. Uh, I don't want to be mindful of that. I just want to paint. Um, yeah, so by softening those edges, you see she becomes a little bit more natural. Um, Painting is just like drawing. You have to kind of build up areas. You have to know, you know, when we place in those gradients. Here, I'm pretty happy with her overall light and dark. I think everything is looking the way it should, according to my photo. Um, and there's nothing like working from life to get the color, but I think I got a pretty decent color. You can almost see, like when I put my hand up there, the colors are pretty close to nature. Um, I had painted Casey before from life, actually a couple of times in class, once during the day and then once at night. And she has, I think she said she's Italian and little Swedish too. So she's got some olive skin, um, but yet she does have like some of the red, like around her nose and cheeks are very rosy. So not that that means anything, but sometimes you know if you can't see it physically, um, usually understanding a little bit of their background, if like there's a complexion that you're just not getting, and then you find out that there's a little exotic uh, background in the person, then you can kind of understand it a little bit. Not that you're going to go for cliches, but in painting, but sometimes it does help. It steers you in the right direction. Um, like I painted James, the cello player, and he was very, very Irish, white, almost like alabaster skin, and red hair. And when I painted him, again, painted him from life, you could see um, all the red, the pink tones, and then the green tones, which uh, are usually no. Um, in that type of skin. So here we're going into the eyes. Now you see they got brighter. Now I am going to go back. They look very stark right now, but they need to be. I just remasked them in, so I'm still at that stage where, I can go back and play with them. The hair will be another video altogether. I'll try to mask that in and get a lot of it done. But if you noticed, I did kind of soften the other side. I probably will put maybe a gray background, or maybe I'll leave the background alone. I think that kind of works with her skin tone now. And here I am with that little brush. And the reason why I'm hitting the camera now is because I'm trying to get in a little closer to see what I'm doing, and it's tough because I'm looking at this painting from the lower left-hand corner, looking up at it. So, and I tried to angle it. I have to try to find another way to do this, but right now it's actually good because it's flat. I mean, you do see me poking in with my glasses and hair. Excuse me. So as we can see, she's getting a little bit more refined as we go. And again, it's just, we have structure. What I'm trying to do here is, I noticed that her eyelids, the upper lids, are quite pronounced. So I want to make sure that I get those. They're pronounced, plus they're red. There's a lot of red in that area. But there's also gradations of the red too. But I did want to get the averages in there as clear as possible, based on, again, I'm going back to, the drawing of the photograph, not my drawing, but referring back to the photo. But this drawing, it's interesting. When you draw something out and when you paint the same thing, you really do have a vast understanding of everything that's happening, okay? Because you've drawn it, right? So you were there. You got the gradients where they needed to be, and now you're executing the painting. Which, again, I keep saying that painting is really drawing too. So we're just moving paint around to create our shapes. It does take a little time to understand, what the paint can do, how much paint you have to put down, keeping your shadows relatively transparent. In this situation, where you have an underpainting, if your underpainting values are true, you can easily use the shadow colors and just kind of glaze over those shadow colors if you don't want to paint them. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, then the painting takes a little while for it to focus back in, because now it's focusing in on my hair. But it does go back and forth, and you'll see. We have about 4 minutes left on the video. Sorry about the shaking. I'm really just trying to get... Now here I'm going over with the big brush. I really want to get that softened out. I want to make sure that looks like it's just, there's no edge. And I'll probably go over that again before I paint it in the opaque way. Now, as you can see, I'm massing in some of the the eyebrows. It's interesting, the eyebrows are not brown, because I don't have brown. They are a mixture of red and red and black. I mean, that's really all we can work with here. Now, what I'm also doing here too is I'm working out some of the accents now. I'm re-establishing those accents. Now, the reason for that is because I felt her eyelids. Maybe when I painted the underpainting, I might have gone over them a little too much. So I wanted to resolve that, and so now I'm going back, working in the accents. Um, she still needs a lot more refinement, um, but for the most part, I'm happy with the general construction, the lights and the darks. Unfortunately, there is a little glare right above her, that area, the left eye. Um, but I'll show you this. I'll take a photograph of this painting when it's done. You'll be able to see it a little bit better. It's but again, it's a study. You know, we're learning something here. We're learning how to paint over a an underpainting. We're learning to see the color in the photo, or if you're working from life. Again, this technique would be exactly, I would work exactly the same way. In fact, I did a painting of Gabby and the administrator at the atelier. And before I painted her, I did a charcoal rendering um, of her in the studio there, and from the same, basically the same light. What I also did too is that painting was done from life, but I also did well, from a photograph. I did a watercolor. I wanted to try to get exaggerate some of the colors in her face, so that when I went to paint her, and again, a lot of that was done from memory because it was a photograph taken, um, in one of the sittings. I don't paint the hair or the clothes when the model's there. That's just a waste of their time. Okay, we are almost out of time. I got about 2 minutes left, but I'll probably do one more video, just some of the finishing touches on her, and we'll also do one on the hair. So stay tuned for the painting of the hair, which is an art in itself. Um, and I will be seeing you guys shortly. Stay well, and happy painting. Ciao.